The story begins with a nostalgic memory of a group of children at a prize booth. Suddenly, one of the boys shouts Jinho's name and says he drew number 35. At this, the boy gets super focused and tells everyone he can feel a victory coming. But the booth owner looks pretty annoyed and wonders how many prizes the kid is going to take. Then, Jinho appears celebrating with a giant fish in his hands and calls his friends to eat. Right after, the fish-shaped pastry is broken into several pieces to be shared. At the playground, the kids eat happily and say the protagonist is the best for always sharing. The young man eats his piece and reflects that he has always been very lucky for as long as he can remember. He keeps thinking that he never really stopped to analyze all this luck of his. The guy just lived his life normally without caring too much about it, just like everyone else. Cutting to the present, we see him older gaming while a friend asks him to hurry up. Another buddy doubts anything good will drop and Jinho tells him to chill, asking them to wait a second. On the screen, a chest appears and a teammate offers 1 million gold if he gets the rare item. He accepts the bet and warns them not to back out later, thinking his skill is more than just luck. The player says it is hard to explain in words, but he can just feel a good vibe. His hand over the mouse starts to glow, and the young man feels his whole body tingle with anticipation. In this exciting moment, a blue aura completely surrounds the focused guy. With everything set, he finally clicks the mouse to open the reward box. As soon as the button is pressed, the chest opens in a huge and bright explosion of light. From inside the item emerges a legendary sword, and his friends are shocked by his luck. A friend wonders how this is possible since the chance was so low, and Jinho brags, promising to deliver. With that, he relaxes in his gaming chair, looking quite relieved and satisfied with the result. But soon his expression changes, and he thinks that, in the end, this luck of his is useless in the real world. This is a skill that only works in games, and he has been living this life for 2 years. On his phone, a job message rejects him, and he gets upset, saying they do not recognize talent. Right after, another notification pops up, and he cannot believe he failed the second phase again. Time passes, and the protagonist keeps receiving more and more job rejection messages. After being rejected about 100 times, his confidence was totally crushed, leaving him feeling hopeless. And slowly, the young man started sinking deeper and deeper into the gaming world to escape reality. All to escape his pathetic and dull life that left him completely frustrated. On his desk, he finds a note from his parents saying they went out and left money for dinner. In that moment, the young man realizes he hit rock bottom and decides to leave this lifestyle behind. In the game, his friends are surprised and ask why he is logging off out of nowhere so suddenly. The protagonist gets a very sad look on his face and says it is nothing like what they are thinking. He then explains to his guildmates that he is going to start looking for a job. His buddies understand the pressure and are sad to see him go, as he was very important to the group. Suddenly, he receives a private message from the guild leader calling him by his name. The woman asks which university he went to, and the guy replies that he went to Jinsen University. She continues the interrogation, wanting to know his major, and the young man says he studied business administration. With a smile on her face, the leader tells him not to waste time looking for a job. A man with a smile on his face invites him to go work at his company. With this, the protagonist is completely shocked and speechless at that proposal. The guild leader says she does not expect much from him right away. She just wants him to do at work the exact same thing he did in the game, leaving the guy confused. Then Jinho yells, wondering what kind of company this could be, as a huge building appears. The next day in an office, someone reviews his resume and sees he has 0 experience. A manager receives a direct order from the CEO to place the rookie in the trading department. Team leader Park Hong, CEO, is surprised to learn that the order came from the big boss himself. A female employee comments that it is the first time the CEO sends a resume out of nowhere like this. Another person agrees, and an image shows exactly what this means for the team. The guy was hired directly by the president without going through any real selection process. Because of this, he is seen by everyone as a paratrooper, someone who landed there by pure luck. Meanwhile, the team leader walks down the hallway, explaining that the stock market opens at 9. But because of the call auction, the real start of operations is at 8:30 in the morning. And although the market closes at 3:30 in the afternoon, the shift is not over for them yet. After that, there is still another auction that makes the final closing at 3:40. Therefore, for a little over 7 hours, that place turns into something intense. The office becomes a silent battlefield where money flies everywhere. The team boss then wonders why they brought a paratrooper to a place like this. Finally, Jinho shows up all dressed up in a suit and introduces himself to his new team. He is a little nervous about the situation but tries to keep his composure in front of his new boss. The team leader asks if it is his first time working in finance, and the young man confirms it. The boss is in disbelief that they sent a rookie he will have to teach everything from scratch. He thinks they basically sent him there just to check a box, without caring about his training. Then the leader calls one of his employees named Lee Hai-rin, who responds promptly. He introduces the new hire and asks Associate Lee to show him how things work. The woman accepts the task with a smile on her face and seems quite excited about the new coworker. With that, she begins to show Jinho around the office, pointing out where he will be working. The protagonist still cannot believe he landed a job in such an amazing place. He remembers his gaming friend, who was actually the CEO of one of the top 10 brokerage firms in the country. His coworker snaps him out of his thoughts by pressing the button on the coffee machine to start the day. She explains that they run on coffee and need to get everything ready before the meeting starts. The young woman warns him not to make any for Leader Park, as he is super disciplined and does not drink coffee. She also mentions that the work is intense and he needs to be fast with the data. It is like a giant casino where billions change hands and very few leave with their sanity intact. At that moment, the woman looks at him seriously and asks if he thinks he can handle the pressure. She says being a broker is not a job for just anyone, leaving the rookie quite tense. But suddenly she laughs and says she was just joking, as every job is more or less the same. Then the girl suggests that, since they will be working together, they should make a promise. She proposes that no matter how hard things get, no one is going to run away without saying anything. The protagonist observes his new coworker and thinks she is quite different from what he expected. With this, he fills with hope and believes that with a senior like her, he can do well at work. Shortly after, the scene cuts to a meeting where someone talks about very complicated financial data. The team leader continues the presentation, talking about investors and pressure in the stock market. He looks very serious and warns everyone that they need to manage risks carefully. The boss then gives orders for the team to prepare to cover the losses with some strategies, but the rookie is completely lost and does not understand a single word they are saying. Looking at the company building, he begins to doubt if he is really going to be able to handle the job. Next, the young man calls the CEO, who laughs and tells him to call him Ayang as usual. The friend asks if he arrived safely, and Jinho expresses his fear of just being a burden to the team. Then the big boss reassures him, saying he has a good eye for people and that he is a very hard worker. He also reveals that he wanted to reward him for all the help he gave in the game. The young man is visibly moved by his friend's words of support. His gaming partner advises him to treat his superiors well, just like he did in the guild. Before hanging up, he instructs him to say he does not know how he got hired if anyone asks. The call ends and the protagonist is left alone in the hallway, processing the conversation he just had. He lets out a long sigh, still a little insecure but a bit calmer than before. At that moment, a coworker calls him back to work, and he replies that he is on his way. Back at his desk, he comes across the term mock trading on the computer screens. His senior tells him she won a competition doing this in college and asks if he also has experience. The young man says no, and his colleague assumes he prefers real-world experience. Then the girl starts explaining why they do mock trading, even though he had not even asked. She says the company cannot simply give a rookie money to invest without testing him first. That is why they use virtual funds to train and evaluate the performance of the younger staff. With this, Jinho asks if doing well in this simulation can turn him into a senior. The woman confirms and says performance is everything, and in the end, whoever makes the most money is king. The rookie reflects on this idea and thinks things are simpler than he thought. Next, a clock on the screen shows that the time is approaching 9 in the morning. As soon as the clock strikes exactly 9 o'clock, the Seoul stock market finally opens. Suddenly, the office that was calm turns into chaos with everyone working frantically. The protagonist and his coworker watch the hustle and bustle as the market begins its operations. The office that was silent a moment ago is now full of people on the phone. On the screens, the stock market numbers appear, showing the highs and lows of the assets. Everyone starts typing very fast on their keyboards, totally focused on their multiple monitors. The entire team instantly transforms into a group of super-focused professionals. Jinho is amazed by the scene and realizes how a real brokerage firm works. He watches everything closely, but soon a drop of sweat runs down his face. Suddenly, the young man feels something strange at his fingertips as his hand glows blue. At that exact moment, a very familiar intense light appears before his eyes. A blue aura surrounds him, and he wonders what this feeling is that he is experiencing. He then remembers that this is the same feeling he gets before scoring a rare item in games. Meanwhile, his coworker tries to explain that the blue light means the price is dropping a lot. But the young woman notices he is not paying attention and asks what he is doing. The young man thinks about his special skill that only works in games and is useless in real life. But right at that moment, as his whole body tingles, he feels that something big is about to happen. A shiver runs down his spine, and a confident smile suddenly appears on his face. With the same instinct from the games, he clicks the mouse and executes a buy order in the system. His senior is completely shocked by the rookie's attitude and asks what he did. The girl lets out a gasp of surprise, unable to believe what she just witnessed there. She scolds him for pressing the buy button out of nowhere and for placing a market order. The young woman points to the chart and asks what color he is seeing on the monitor. She explains that blue means the price is going down, and Jinho asks if he should sell. The young lady says no, and that they might have a chance if the chart turns green again. The protagonist apologizes with an awkward smile on his face for having acted on impulse. His colleague tries to calm him down and tells him not to stress since it was just a test with no real money. The young man thinks he acted without thinking because of the feeling, but the stock keeps falling. He feels like a fool for getting his hopes up and thinking his skill would work. The senior watches him in silence, looking a bit worried about his situation. Suddenly, a mysterious figure appears explaining a very short-term trading method. This strategy consists of making small profits on several trades throughout the day. This type of investment lasts from a few seconds to minutes and requires a lot of agility from the traders. People call this day trade, and the office is the gathering place for junkies hooked on this adrenaline. Every minute and every second, a real tug of war between losses and gains takes place on the screen. In this super tense environment, a single decision and a simple click can determine everything. At the end of the day, and based on the results, the market is finally declared closed. Then what follows is a wave of euphoria or pure frustration depending on each person's performance. One of the employees heavily celebrates a 1.3% return, and his colleagues react. The rookie asks if a 1% return is that impressive, and his senior confirms it right away. She explains that with a 20 billion fund, this generates an annual profit of 3 billion won. The young woman reinforces that in there, whoever makes the most money is king, and everyone respects that rule. At that, the team leader calls over the celebrating employee, leaving the guy quite surprised. The boss congratulates him on the excellent work and encourages him to keep up the good performance. The man says thanks, all proud, and the leader warns him that the real work begins now. He then asks the team to calculate the results and start planning for the next day. Back at his desk, the boss is approached by one of his female employees who seems hesitant. The leader notices her approach and asks assistant manager Lee if she wants to say something. With an awkward smile on her face, the young woman begins to speak about a delicate subject. The man drinks his protein shake and very directly asks her what happened. She then reveals that the rookie accidentally bought a full position in a single stock. The senior explains that it was a mistake during training and worries about the guy's evaluation. The boss finds it very strange that the young woman is already defending the rookie she met one day ago. The man then says he understands and will not be too hard on the rookie, asking her to prepare the meeting. But he emphasizes that she still needs to give the guy proper training, and the young woman is thankful for the chance. Alone at his desk, the boss starts checking the system while thinking about the situation. He then sees the name of the stock the guy bought and thinks it is a very odd choice for the moment. He reflects that rookie mistakes are common, and that is exactly what the investment test is for. But buying a full position at market price is something you do not do without some underlying intention. This attitude from the rookie makes the team leader suspicious about his true intentions. But he soon shakes his head and decides not to overthink it since it is just a mock investment. To him, it was just a silly mistake made by someone who was hired by sheer luck or connections. As soon as the market closes, the real storm of work begins to hit the office. Suddenly, an avalanche of tasks appears, and everyone starts rushing to get everything done. There are requests for data for analysis and documents for the strategy meeting based on the results. After a while immersed in work, the young man finally snaps back to reality, noticing the time passing. And when he realizes it, 14 hours of intense work have already gone by inside the office. His colleague then smiles at him and asks if the rookie is ready to finally go home. As they leave the building, the young woman congratulates him, saying he did very well on his first day. But she does not miss the chance to tease him, mentioning the little mistake he made earlier. The guy then scratches his head and asks a bit awkwardly if the mistake he made was really that small. The girl laughs and reassures him, saying no one is going to penalize him for a silly beginner's mistake. She jokes that maybe Leader Park will be hard on him, and the guy gets visibly worried. But the young woman reminds him of the promise they made not to run away, no matter how tough things get. Then she says goodbye and hopes to see him the next day, and the rookie thanks her and bows in respect. With a goofy smile on his face, he thinks he is truly lucky to have such a kind trainer. Still tired from the long day, he keeps walking, thinking about how lucky he was with his new coworker. Suddenly, his phone starts ringing, and the young man stops, surprised to see who is calling. It is the company CEO who scolds him and tells the young guy to call him Ayung, just like the old days. His friend asks if the work was harder than he expected, and the guy denies any complaints. He then says that honestly he was amazed to see everyone working with such dedication. The protagonist describes the absurd workload and the suffocating tension during the shift. All this made him realize that while he was standing still, the others were putting in effort every single day. Being honest, he admits he still wonders if he really belongs in such an intense place. The big boss reassures him and says his eye for people is spot on and that the rookie will do just fine. Then he changes the subject and asks when Jinho is going to log into the game because he is already waiting for him. His gaming buddy jokes that now that he has a job, he's going to skip game night, and the young man denies it. He then realizes that the end of the shift does not mean the end of the day and hangs up the phone in a hurry. With a smile on his face, the protagonist starts running through the streets so as not to keep his friend waiting. The scene then cuts to the office the next day, with everyone already at their desks working hard. One of the employees clicks the mouse with determination, executing yet another one of his daily tasks. In this environment, we see a man yelling on the phone while a female coworker watches him closely. The team leader announces the end of the shift and calls everyone to a meeting in 15 minutes. Already in the meeting room, the boss asks if anything notable happened in the financial market today. One of the employees says he emailed the data, and Park decides to take a look at the report. He analyzes the document and notices that most insurance companies took a big hit. But suddenly, the man stops and notices something very strange in the charts he received from his team. His eyes widen in shock and a drop of sweat runs down his face as he sees the result of one stock. The insurance company stock that the rookie bought the day before took an unexpected turn. The chart that previously only showed drops now displays an impressive and sudden recovery. The stock simply skyrocketed and had an unbelievable 15% increase in its value. His coworker is shocked and screams, wondering if this is the stock the paratrooper bought. The senior then turns to Jinho and asks how on earth he managed to predict this surge. The protagonist tries to stay calm, but his work partner is visibly agitated. At that moment, the team leader appears from behind and calls the guy by his full name. With a super serious look on his face, the boss invites him into his office for a chat. The scene then cuts to the rookie on the subway, looking exhausted after a long day. On the way back home, he is squeezed in the crowd, completely out of energy and very tired. To try to recover a bit, the guy drinks an energy drink to make it through the trip back. He thinks that even after work and gaming, he still hasn't managed to recover from the exhaustion. With a forced smile, he reflects on how exhausted he is after these 2 days of work. Upon arriving home, his parents greet him, surprised that he managed to get such a good job. He tries to confirm that it is true, but his mom still doubts he actually got the job. The young man gets upset and his father defends him, saying he has always been very hardworking in everything he did. His father places his hands on his son's shoulders and congratulates him on the great achievement in his life. With smiles on their faces, his parents encourage him to work hard even during tough times. The protagonist reflects that he cannot remember the last time he saw his parents this happy. The next day, he walks to work determined to give it his best, regardless of everything. At the office, his coworker greets him with a "good morning," full of energy and a good mood. She smiles at him and says she was glad he kept his promise and did not give up. With a determined look, Jinho replies that they should give it their best once again. Suddenly, his senior stops in front of his computer with a look of surprise on her face. She shows him the screen and says the stock he bought the day before went up 15%. The guy is in shock and wonders if his special skill really worked this time. A drop of sweat runs down his face as he stares at the screen, unable to believe what he is seeing. He starts imagining how much he would have made if he had invested real money in that. At that moment, the team leader appears from behind and calls him by his name once again. With an imposing posture, the boss approaches and says he needs to have a word with the rookie. He invites him to step into his office for a private chat, leaving the young man quite tense. Arriving in the room, the protagonist faces an environment completely different from what he expected to find. The place is actually a full gym, and he wonders if the boss works out there due to a lack of time. The man then breaks the silence and asks the rookie how he is doing so far. He feels there is something odd going on and decides he needs to find out what it is on his own. Then, the boss asks Jinho to call assistant manager Lee Hai-rin into his office. The young woman enters the boss's office and stands in front of his desk waiting for orders. The two stare at each other for a moment in silence before the team leader finally speaks. The rookie returns to his desk, and his colleague questions him about what the boss told him. She then happily shares that from now on, the two of them should focus only on investments. The senior says this is because of the stock he bought, and Jinho asks if that is a good thing. With that, she explains they will have more time in the market and more chances to get promoted. The girl thanks Jinho for the opportunity, and the guy says it was just beginner's luck. His coworker then suggests they pay close attention in the meeting to take advantage of the chance. The protagonist gets excited about the idea of spending the entire day focused on trading. The scene then cuts to the start of the team meeting with the projector being turned on. The team leader begins the presentation and asks if everyone read the daily reports. He says the hottest topic right now is the electric vehicle sector and its supply chains. Before the market opens, they hold a meta-analysis meeting to discuss trends. In these meetings, they focus on the sectors most likely to grow during the day. The young man jots down the terms and begins to think that the job is not so different from gaming. He compares the market strategy to the tactics used in RPG game raids. But he realizes he is still a rookie and has a lot of trouble understanding everything. At the end of the meeting, the boss warns everyone not to be greedy and try to recover everything. He instructs the team to play it as safe as possible to avoid further losses. With that, the meeting is adjourned and the team gets ready for another intense day of work. As they leave, one of the employees asks the senior and Jinho to collect some important data. But the team leader steps in and tells the employee to ask other teams for help. The boss explains he has another task for the duo, and the coworker gets the message. Team leader Park's intention becomes very clear to everyone present in the room. He basically sent a message for no one to bother the two of them for a while. The protagonist then realizes this is a great opportunity to show his worth. With that, he sits in his chair and gets ready for the day of trading. His hands are positioned over the keyboard and mouse, ready to start operating in the market. On the screen, the stock market numbers and charts flash, showing the day's volatility. His eyes stay fixed on the monitor, analyzing every movement and every opportunity that arises. The mouse cursors move quickly across the stock high and low charts. The young man then thinks that if his skill really works there, everything could change. With this idea in mind, he fully concentrates on the trading market. His hand rests on the mouse, and he waits patiently for the right moment to act. Suddenly, his eyes shine and the same blue aura he felt before begins to appear. He feels the same excitement and confidence he felt in games before a big play. Guided by his instinct, he clicks the mouse and executes another buy order in the system. At the end of the day, one of his teammates watches him with a surprised look. The colleague thinks that as soon as the rookie gets a chance, he does not hesitate to bet at all. He then sees on the monitor that the guy invested 100% of his funds in a single stock. Meanwhile, the rest of the team works frantically in the office without stopping for a second. Jinho's senior seems quite excited about his performance and cracks her knuckles in anticipation. But she soon remembers her partner and wonders how he is doing on the test. The young woman turns around and is surprised to see that the young man is doing absolutely nothing. She gets worried and starts thinking maybe he lost a lot and completely froze up. The guy moves his mouse slowly, looking quite bored and without much to do. He explains to himself that he spent all his money at the beginning and now has nothing left to do. The young man looks at the chart and sees that the stock he bought is dropping significantly for the day. His colleague walks over and asks how his trading day went in a friendly tone. The young woman brags about getting a 2% return, and the protagonist praises her. With a curious smile, she says she is going to take a look at her junior's performance. But upon seeing the screen, the girl is shocked and asks why he went all in on one stock again. She scolds him for forgetting that the foundation of investing is asset diversification. The senior thinks that if he had diversified, the loss would not have been so huge. The guy is frustrated that he cannot tell her about his skill and thinks he will not be forgiven. His coworker says this is not going to fly and asks him to stay after hours. She then announces a special lesson on how to survive in the trading department. The young woman finishes her scolding and asks if the rookie understood the message she wanted to send. With a smile and tears of joy, the young man thanks her for being such an amazing mentor. Suddenly, a stern voice interrupts the scene and asks if they think that is funny. Assistant manager Yamiju appears looking annoyed and questions them seriously. The two apologize immediately, and the woman says she is already irritated and does not want any more trouble. She then orders the two to prepare the meeting room, and Jinho's senior obeys promptly. The rookie asks why she was so rude, and his coworker asks him to try to understand. The young woman explains that the market was very volatile and manager Yang also took losses. She says most people in the department are quite stressed, and they need to be careful on these days. The scene then cuts to other office employees with looks of pure despair. One of them complains that he tried to protect himself with a short position, but it was not enough. Another comments that other teams were probably also hit hard by the drop. They wonder what to do and fall silent when they see the team leader approaching. Team leader Park Hong-seo approaches the group with his usual imposing posture. He tells them everyone needs to do what they can and calls them in for a response meeting. The leader then jokes that they could do a set of exercises to clear their heads. The team refuses the offer immediately and rushes to prep the meeting room out of fear of the boss. In the break room, another team leader walks up and taunts him about his team's morale. This is Kim Hak-tae, a rival team leader who seems to enjoy a good taunt. He accuses him of being too obvious about picking sides, and Park does not understand the accusation. The rival then explains that because of him, the juniors had a tough day doing extra tasks. He is referring to the paratrooper the president placed on the team, and the boss denies the accusations. Park says it is nothing like that, and that he needed to confirm something very important with the rookie. He wanted to know if the guy was just another useless person, or if he actually had some talent. The rival then warns him to ensure the rookie does not cause problems for the team. He reminds him that inside there, connections do not save anyone, and that Park's job would also be on the line. With the message delivered, the rival leader says goodbye and leaves, leaving Park deep in thought in the break room. The man stays silent for a moment, reflecting on the conversation he just had. The scene then goes back to the meeting with Park standing in front of his discouraged team. He tells everyone not to keep their heads down over the losses they took today. The leader encourages them, saying they can recover what they lost, and instructs the team to protect themselves. He advises them to play defensively but suddenly notices something odd in the meeting room. Amidst all the discouraged faces, he sees Jinho looking strangely relaxed. The boss then thinks it is a good thing it is only a test, as the rookie's stock is also dropping. Jinho's senior comments that the leader does not look happy, and the young man thinks he looks normal. The boss then reflects that he jumped the gun in thinking the rookie might have some potential. He believes the battery sector will not recover unless the sky turns upside down. The next day at company headquarters, something completely unexpected happens and shocks everyone. One of the employees is left open, mouth seeing the morning news on the office screens. With a look of pure shock, he realizes that the sky really did turn upside down. The breaking news reveals that Indonesia, the largest producer of nickel, will reduce supply by 30%. Dissatisfied with the drop in nickel prices, the Indonesian government decided to cut production. The office turns into a madhouse with everyone running and shouting to cover their short positions. When the supply of a raw material drops, companies without exposure to the material plummet. On the other hand, those that hold the material in stock see their shares skyrocket in the market. A female employee runs up to the team leader with the data he requested on nickel reserves. She reports that almost no domestic company stockpiles the material and that only one has a reserve. The boss is shocked by the information, and a dawning idea begins to form in his mind. The employee reveals that the only company is Dehan Solution, and the leader can barely believe it. A coworker comments that Dehan Solution's stock is rising like a rocket today. Everyone in the meeting room remembers Jinho calmly taking notes during the presentation. He was smiling calmly during the meeting while everyone else was tense and worried. No one could have predicted Indonesia's announcement, and the boss wonders how the rookie knew. Suddenly, his senior calls his name, snapping him out of his thoughts and his concentration. She arrives super excited about the news from Indonesia, and Jinho fakes surprise to play it cool. He remembers the lesson from the day before and reacts with enthusiasm so as not to raise suspicions. The young woman celebrates the market turnaround, since yesterday everyone was saying the battery sector was doing poorly. The guy then thinks that the stock he bought is also related to the battery sector. He asks if the team had not bet on the drop, and the senior says the damage was not severe. She praises Leader Park for his good instincts and for telling the team to be conservative. Suddenly, a hand slams hard on the desk, grabbing the attention of everyone in the office. Director Lee Tae-ho of the company looks deep in thought about the new employee's situation. Team Leader Park interrupts his thoughts and asks for a moment to discuss something. Park gets straight to the point and recommends someone for the promotion to senior trader on the team. He then reveals that the person he wants to promote is the rookie Jung Jin-ho, and the scene cuts. The director is shocked by the nomination, wondering why he would choose the president's protege. In his office, President Wang Dae-woon looks at his phone and complains about the lack of human warmth. With an air of concern, he wonders if his protege is doing well at the new job. The scene shifts to a restaurant where Jinho and his senior are having the promised lesson. The young woman begins lesson number 1 on how to survive in the department. Read the room. She explains that on bad days, rookies should stay quiet and observe the mood of others. The senior warns him that some veterans hate it when rookies do better than them. So she teaches him how to behave so as not to draw attention and to appear harmless. The young man admires her and thinks she is a good person for trying so hard to help him. But he wonders if she would still treat him the same way if she knew he was a paratrooper. The young woman pulls him from his thoughts, and he readily agrees with everything she says. She comforts him, telling him not to get discouraged by the numbers because everyone starts out that way. Jinho listens carefully and agrees with a smile on his face, feeling more confident. To end the night, the senior toasts with him and promises to teach him a great strategy. The next day at the office, the young man arrives and is met with an unbelievable surprise. The Daehan Solution stock he bought the day before skyrockets and goes up 15%. With a smile of relief and excitement, Jinho finally believes his skill works. His coworker's jaw drops, completely shocked by the result of the investment. The young woman gets super embarrassed and hides her face in her hands, unable to believe what she sees. She thinks she gave him all that advice yesterday over a return of just 2%. Then the girl bows and asks him to teach her his techniques, calling him senior. She does not believe it was luck and squeezes his cheeks, telling him he is amazing. The guy reflects that normally she would feel envious, but she is genuinely happy for him. With his cheeks squeezed, he thanks her for having such a good and understanding mentor. In another room, Team Leader Park presents the rookie's results to the director. The director is in disbelief at the 15% returns on 2 consecutive days. He doubts these returns are real and asks if the guy picked the stocks himself. Team Boss Park just listens to the director's doubts with a serious expression. The director refuses to promote a rookie and worries about being seen as a suck-up. He argues it was just luck and that the guy acted without stress because it was fake money. But Park interrupts him and asks what would have happened if it were the company's real money. He suggests that maybe the 15% return only happened because of the daily limit. Park says that for traders, politics do not matter and that bonuses are based on performance. He reminds the director of some advice he got when he was a junior: invest in safe assets. With a clenched fist, the team leader says that in this case he is going to invest in the rookie. He believes the company president had good reasons to pick Jung Jin-ho. The company president asks if they managed to resolve the issue with the battery stocks. His assistant says yes, that the situation rattled some seniors so much that they resigned. President Hwang Dae-woon reflects that investing is a mental battle and leaving was the right call. He comments that they got lucky, because if this happened in the American market, they would be ruined. Then the boss sends everyone back to work so they can rest the following day. Alone in his office, the president sits down and relaxes a bit after a hectic day. He loosens his tie and complains about the absolute chaos that took over the company that day. One of his female employees enters the room and calls him to discuss an important matter. She reminds him that he has to keep an eye on the rookie Jung Jin-ho and report anything. The young woman then informs him that the guy's name is on the list for promotion to senior trader. The president is completely surprised by the news and cannot hide his amazement. He stands up from the couch, still processing the information he just received from his assistant. The boss wonders how he can promote a rookie who has been at the company for less than 1 week. He worries about the situation and questions whether he abandoned his protege at the company. But the president soon calms down and tells them to let the promotion happen, surprising everyone. He then reveals with a smile that all of this was already part of his plans from the start. The assistant leaves the room, and the president is left alone again, reflecting on his decision. He admits it is his fault for not explaining things properly and causing confusion. But with a mysterious smile, he thinks that maybe this situation is the best thing that could happen. He believes this is a good chance for Jinho to learn hands on what investing is all about. He looks out the window and thinks that to survive there, Jinho will need to toughen up. The scene cuts to Saturday afternoon, with the young man looking exhausted on the subway. He is completely drained and can barely stay awake on public transportation. Upon arriving at the office, he runs into his senior and greets her with a low energy, "Hello." The young woman smiles and says she did not expect to run into him on the weekend too. She explains that on Saturdays they analyze the week's data to understand the market. But to cheer him up, she says they leave at 2 o'clock and the work is not that bad. The guy then wonders if analyzing data really helps predict market movements. He gets his coworker's attention and begins to question the effectiveness of their work. The rookie reminds her that the market works like a casino and is hard to predict logically. With this, he asks if studying the market and data really matters all that much. His senior agrees that it is impossible to predict the market perfectly, but they prepare anyway. She uses the butterfly effect metaphor to explain how distant events can affect them. The young woman says that even knowing this, they prepare to increase their chances of success. She concludes that this preparation is the best they can do in the current situation. The protagonist then remembers his friends complaining that there are no experienced rookies. They blame the times and the bad job market, preferring to play games to forget their problems. He reflects that while he was thinking those things, his senior was working hard to get there. For a moment, the young man feels ashamed of himself for belittling the effort of others. With a fresh outlook, he decides he will give it his best and will not be ashamed of his results. Even with a new perspective, he still thinks working on weekends is very exhausting. Arriving at his apartment, he opens the door and announces that he is finally home. But the place looks empty and quiet, and the guy wonders if no one is around. Suddenly, a pillow flies his way and hits him right in the face by surprise. He gets annoyed and asks why the person did not say they were there, but she says it was funny. Then his younger sister appears and greets him, asking how he has been doing lately.